Hello, my name is Nancy Heins-Glaser, and I'm the host of a new series called Meet the Artists, and we're glad to have you here today. We're featuring some of the wonderful artwork in our area and the murals of South Orange. Today we're lucky enough to be at the First Union main branch on South Orange Avenue, the First Union Bank, and with me is the financial specialist and my contact here at the bank, Denise, Alvarez, and she's going to talk a little bit about the wonderful murals we have here. I'm going to just ask if you know a little bit about the artist, or have you really mostly focused on the work itself?
Actually, the work itself is really what I know most about.
Okay.
It seems that when I first came here, everyone always mentions the murals and how they have a real historic significance to the town. And so I'm glad for this opportunity because I was able to learn some more about it.
Great. Well, I know you've been here a couple of years?
Yeah,
about 2 years.
About 2 years.
One of the great things about doing the show in general is the seeking that we're doing, the treasure hunt work we're doing. And I did have an opportunity to read a little bit about the artist. It was a gentleman by the name of Stanley J. Rowland, who was pretty famous in the East Coast. He was from the Stamford, Connecticut area, and he painted about in 10 different states. His artwork is represented, and this bank used to be called the South Orange Trust, which you know.
Yes.
And they commissioned Mr. Rolland to do this series of pictorial representations on a timeline for the city of South Orange. So what we're going to be able to do is start with the oldest of the representations, I believe. The work was done somewhere in the area of 1951 to 1953. And this piece would represent the earliest era of our area. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this, Denise?
Well, actually, what this piece represents is from about 1650, and where the Indians are standing with the elk that they have hunted is approximately the location of South Orange Avenue and Scotland Road. The field in the background there is about where the First Union Bank is now. So even back then, South Orange Avenue was a very important transportation route, between the river and going up to Morristown.
Okay. And so this depicts the Indian tribe. I think it's the Lenape Indians or the Delaware Indians, and it's a sub-tribe, I think, right?
Right. The sub-tribe that were in the South Orange area were the Munsee Indians, and in the winter they hunted elk and deer, which were very important
Great.
and very abundant in this area.
Great, and that's the mountain off in the background.
Yes,
That's
it
the mountain.
is. Yeah.
Okay, great. We're going to go on to the next one then.
Great.
Well,
Okay.
All right. And
Okay.
so, should I start?
That's good. Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
now we're at the second mural. I think we're going in chronological order.
Right.
And tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about this one, Denise.
Well, actually, this mural depicts the Timothy Ball homestead from the early 1700s. He and his wife had this. It was about several acres of land that they had, and right now this is on Ridgewood Road, and many school children now go there, during their classes to learn about life during the colonial period. Timothy Ball died from smallpox only 14 years after building his house, but his wife and descendants, they continued on to use that for about 100 years.
And apparently they used this large patch of acreage to house some of George Washington's horses during the Revolutionary War, which we're going to talk about a little bit in the next
I was
one.
going to go into that one.
Right. And what was interesting in doing the research, I understand that George Washington discovered his mother's last name was Ball and found that they were relatives of his wife's, and that's how they were
Exactly.
able to use the property to
Yeah.
store the houses. Let's go on to the next one,
Okay.
okay? Sure.
And should I start off on this?
Yes, go
or-
right
okay.
ahead. Sorry, this is a revolutionary piece we just referred to.
Right, yeah, this is the mural that depicts George Washington on top of First Mountain. He would often come to First Mountain to survey the movements of the British troops along the Raritan and between New York and New Brunswick. From this, he would watch them, and his main core of troops would be wintering over at Jockey Hollow in Morristown. But when he would come down here, he would use the Ball residence to store his horses, and they would provide food and shelter for him.
And he also was very fond of the people of this area. I think he found a tremendous amount of support. So
Yeah,
right?
so what he did was he would give the folks in this area several wagon loads of meat and flour to help them, because they would be often robbed by the British.
Wonderful. Now, this piece in particular thrills me because the colors, we talked a little bit
Yeah.
about that. Does this give you any sense of rootedness in the bank? Or how do you feel
Yeah,
about
I mean, it certainly shows that this, building in this area has been very important, since the founding of our country. And it's a very nice painting.
Now, one of the other things you mentioned is that a lot of people come in and talk about the murals.
Right, yeah.
And so it wasn't my husband and I alone who
No.
found these interesting. But,
No.
So I understand that they were given as a gift of the South Orange Trust to the people in the city of South Orange, which I thought was an interesting relationship between the banking industry and the citizens of the town in which they
Yeah.
were located. So. Now, when you first came here, I assume you interviewed here for your position.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did.
And that was 2 years ago.
Right.
You're still here?
I'm still here.
Our work's still here. What did it make you feel like when you came in for your first interview, seeing these lovely pieces of work?
Well, it's interesting because I've been with the company for over 7 years now, and when I first came in here, it was so unique because I've worked in branches in Morristown and just all over the area, even down to Philadelphia and so forth, and this is a really unique office, and it makes me happy that I work here.
Well, thank you. And we really appreciate you taking the time and
sure.
coordinating with us to get this
Yeah.
together, which was a challenge.
Not a
Whenever
problem.
the bank is open, it's busy. So
Yeah.
we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Okay.
it. We're going to go on and see a couple more recent murals, and we'll be talking with the customer relations manager, and she's going to tell us a little bit about those. So come along. Okay. Welcome back. We're now going to continue our tour through the First Union Bank, the main branch in South Orange, and I'm here with Kathy Buckner, the customer relations manager here at the First Union Bank. And we're back on to mural number 3 by Mr. Stanley J. Rolland. And I'd like you to give us a little information so the audience is better connected to this piece. Okay, Kathy?
Okay. This portrait here depicts the first power-steamed engine into South Orange. And I believe this was August 1837 that the first engine came into South Orange. And then that allowed service to New York as we have it today. But you can see, from the portrait here how it frightens the farm animals, the horses, the pigs. They had never seen this before.
The beast, the
Yes,
steam
the
beast, right?
The steam beast, as they call it. And of course, all the town folk have come down to see this new machine. That's
The person who built it is somebody important in New Jersey history, I think, was it?
yes. The person that built the Orange, which
Right.
was the name of this locomotive, was Seth Boyden of Newark. And today in the South Orange and Maplewood school system, we have an elementary school, which is Seth Boyden.
Great, great.
Yeah.
So that puts us now into the 1800s. We were back in the 16
Yes.
and the 1700s. Now we're into the 1800s. Okay, let's go on to the next one. I think our viewers are going to really enjoy this next one a lot. Liz, before you start, how's the glare on this one? I was worried about the glare on this one. Okay.
We're ready when you are.
All right, we're ready to go.
Close enough.
And here we are, we're looking at the, I think this is the 5th in the line of the 6 murals, and this is one that's near and dear to my heart. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this one, Kathy?
Okay, yeah, this is one of my favorites also. This is the Village Hall, okay, and the portrait here depicts it around 1894, okay. You can see this here would be South Orange Avenue. On the side here, this was the firehouse, okay, and I don't know if you can catch the, up in the corner there where the horses are peeking out, okay. Those were the horses that would carry the fire engine at that time. Then they also had trolley cars that went up and down South Orange Avenue to Newark and back. Then I think it was in the maybe the early 1900s, 1924, maybe somewhere around there. It became the police station. Okay.
So it was the fire department, police station, and...
Yeah, and still
South
housed the government of the
Okay.
South Orange Village. And so I like this portrait. It reminds me of my grandfather. He was a South Orange policeman when the station was on the corner here. And, you know, all the great stories of when he was a child living here, jumping on the trolley. And so I like this one the best.
I do too.
Yeah.
I really like it. Well, thank you, because there's a connection with you. I'm
Sure.
sure you connect. So
Yeah.
we're going to go on to the last one, which I think a lot of our viewers will also recognize.
Oh,
The last one we saw, which was Village Hall, which was constructed in 1894, represented the end of the 1800s, and so we now make another jump. And this is a very recognizable piece of architecture here. Tell us a little bit about this one, Kathy.
okay. This is Columbia High School, which is on the corner of Parker and Valley Street in Maplewood. And this portrait here is depicting the 1950s, early 1950s. The school was actually finished in 1929, this particular section of it. Of course, later on, in the late 60s, I believe it was when they put the additions
Addition
on this school.
Okay. Not many white socks around the ankles these days that I see over at Columbia. But I would also, what I think is so neat about it is that education has always been important to this community, and he chose to focus on this. And one of the interesting pieces is that when we read this, it said that it was listed in the 1929 Encyclopedia Britannica
Yes.
as a perfect example of good design in
Yes.
architecture.
Yeah.
So
So we're proud of that.
wonderful. Thank you
Yes.
so very much. Now I'm going to ask you another question, sort of like I asked Denise. What does it mean to you working around this art? How does it feel to you personally? Does it give you any sense of pride or continuity, or
Yeah,
tell me how it makes you feel inside?
I enjoy it because being born and raised in this town, you know, you look back and fourth generation, we go back, so they do have meaning to us. And what I enjoy the best is when the little toddlers, the children come in, and they love running from mural to mural to mural. They're so excited by the paintings on the wall. So the little ones really get a kick out of it.
And you said also it generates a lot of conversation. People
Oh,
want to know
yes.
about it. So.
Oh, yes, yes. We're always getting comments on the paintings. They love them.
Good, and that's one of the reasons why we chose this as something important to feature. And so for the South Orange Trust Company, who originally presented this to the townspeople of South Orange, to the First Union Bank, who's allowing us to see this now, we appreciate it, and we're going to give you a little bit of a tour, a video montage at the end of the show. So hope you stick around, and we thank you very much for joining us. And if anyone's out there who is a descendant of Mr. Stanley J. Rolland, we would love to hear from you so we could do more featuring of the artist himself. Thank you.